Check it out. You can find God in the timber, find Jesus in the pines, find heaven out yonder in the river, and I thank God that he's mine. And if you like what you're hearing, or you're already a fan, then go and tell all your friends and your mom and dad. Go spread the word that everybody know. You can find God in the timber, find Jesus in the pines, find heaven out yonder in the river, and I thank God that he's mine. And if you like what you're hearing, or you're already a fan, then go and tell all your friends and your mom and dad. Go spread the word that everybody you know. You can find God in the timber.
And welcome back, everybody, to another week of God in the Timber podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Scott, and this week is an in memory podcast. So this may be short, but a couple days ago, my high school football and baseball coach passed away, and he was a big reason of the man I am today. So I want to talk about Coach Toby Dunn and all he's done for me. And I do have a couple stories, about 3 or 4 stories about him that I want to share. But just to give y'all the basis of things, I guess you could say. My brothers, I got 2 older brothers. They transferred to Waterloo High School when my oldest brother was in 7th grade. And then my other brother came 3 years later whenever he was in 7th grade. So Coach Dunn was their baseball coach when they first got there. And he ended up being one of my high school baseball coaches and one of my football coaches. So this man has seen me grow up. And one of the biggest things I remember about Coach Dunn, not one of the things, just part of the thing I remember about Coach Dunn was my oldest brother's 9 years older than me. So whenever he was in 7th grade, I was like 4 years old, maybe. I don't know. I can't do the math on that because I don't know how old he was. He was like 12, so I was like 3 years old. But when my brother was in 7th grade, my oldest brother, Coach Dunn always made it not a habit, but he made it a point that whenever they had baseball practice and I was there, I was able to get on the field and play with them. Like, I was able to get out there and enjoy just being out there with them. Now, if they was hitting live baseballs, he wouldn't let me out there then, but like whenever he was out there hitting the baseball to them, like doing the position drills and stuff, I was out there. I was able to stand there by Coach Dunn and all the people or all the other players. Like the catcher would play, he would catch the ball and he would hand it to me and I'd hand it to Coach Dunn. And I just got to be a part of the team. And so Coach Dunn, some of these stories, the reason I have to say this is because he literally watched me grow up, is where I'm getting at. So we're going to jump into a few stories about Coach Dunn, and they all have a Bible verse to go with them. And if it sounds like I'm tearing up, I probably am, because this man, he did a lot for me. So my oldest brother, like I said, is 9 years older than me, and he joined the military whenever I was in 7th grade. And I had Coach Dunn for first period math. And I walked in there the day after my brother told us that he joined the military. And at that time, all I knew about the military was what was shown on the news, because we were still in the heat of battle with Afghanistan. And the news would say, so-and-so X amount of American soldiers was killed this week in Afghanistan. So I thought my brother was gonna die. Like, I thought he was going to war and he was gonna die. So I walked into first period math. I was in 7th grade and I had a hoodie on, and I just went to my desk, threw my hoodie up and put my head down. And Coach Dunn immediately knew something was wrong, because I was always the loudmouth, goofing off type person. And about 15 minutes in, I don't know what caused him to do this, but he came and tapped me on the shoulder, and I start sobbing, crying, like just that, where you're not fully crying yet, but you got the tears in your eyes. And he pulled me out of class, and he's like, "What's going on? Something's wrong." And I busted out crying. I mean, bawling in that hallway. And I was like, Keith joined the military and he's going to go to war and he's going to die. And this man wrapped me in one of the tightest hugs I have ever had in my life. And one thing about Coach Dunn, let me add to this, is he was a very, very godly man. And he's like, Kyle, if you trust that Jesus is going to take care of him in the heat of battle, if he does have to face it, what do you have to fear? Like, just trust in him that he's going to take care of your brother. And I'm still crying. He's still hugging me. He said, look, go to the gym and just sit down. There's nobody in there. And just go in there and sit down. Have some time to yourself. He said, I'll write down your lesson for today and I'll give it to you after football practice. And if you need any help, just let me know and we can work something out. So in that moment, Coach Dunn showed me compassion. So in 1 Peter 4:10, it says, as each one has received a gift, minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold graces of God. So Coach Dunn used a gift that God gave him to pour into me whenever I needed it the most. He was compassionate, and that compassion went not just for me, that compassion went for other people. Like, I have seen him just be compassionate. I wish I could tell more stories of his compassion, like with other people, but I can't because that's their stories to tell. That's not my stories to tell. But he showed compassion to so many people. But I do have to show the flip side of his compassion on some anger, because I never saw him angry unless we was playing sports. Like, he would get angry at umpires. He would get angry at if we wasn't executing right, which that's what a coach does. But I had him like 2 years later for lunch. I was in his math class, and at that time, fourth period was lunchtime. And ninth grade Kyle was a troublemaker, a big troublemaker. You couldn't tell me crap, is what I'm trying to get at. I had a mouth on me. I loved to fight at the moment, and like, I was a troublemaker. Well, all of us ninth grade boys that was in his class, we have figured out that if you buy a piece of ice in the lunchroom and you put it to your mouth to a straw and pretty much shot it like a spit wad, it hurts a lot. Well, I'm 200 pounds, and I found out, or I was like 250 in ninth grade, 250, 275. I found out that I had enough power that I could take a whole ice cube and hit it with my fist at the right angle, and it would shoot a whole ice cube at people. So the lunch ladies came up to us boys, and they was like, look, and they was some of the sweetest women ever. And they came up to us, and they was like, look, y'all stop. We have to clean this up every day after y'all, and we're tired of it. Well, me being me, the ninth grader with the smart mouth, I said, look, it's just water. What is it hurting y'all? Well, they went and told Coach Dunn, and I want to say Coach Dunn made me run that evening. He didn't say nothing to me, but he made me run after football practice. But I do remember him saying that, telling the lunch ladies that he would keep an eye on us. I do remember that like pretty clearly. Next day, get in the lunchroom, grab my sweet tea. First thing I do is take a big old swig of it, spit out a piece of ice, and I hit it as hard as I can with my fist. That ice cube landed at Coach Dunn's feet. This man did not eat. Like, he had his plate of what he was eating. He gets up, comes over to me, taps me on the shoulder, and said, let's go to the principal's office right now. And I could tell by his tone of voice that this was not going to be good. And we get to the principal's office, and he tells the principal what happened yesterday, what happened today. And they was like, Coach Dunn was like, or the principal was like, so what do you want to do about it? And Coach Dunn told him, he's like, I know his mom and his daddy. If I called them right now, they ain't going to leave work. They're going to tell me to paddle him. And he said, I'm pretty sure I can find a piece of paper where his mama has wrote out for each one of them for if they get in trouble to get paddled instead of any kind of like ISS or anything like that. Well, Coach Dunn said, I haven't paddled a kid in so many years, but I am paddling him today. He said he's one of my football players, and I'm paddling him. So he reared back, And boys and girls, let me tell you what, I swear to you that that paddle sounded like a 22 going off for all three legs. And I've never been shot by a 22, but I'm pretty sure that's what a 22 felt like also. But it was one of them pains, like it hurt physically, but it also hurt a whole lot more because I realized that I let somebody down that I respected greatly. It's kind of like I let down my dad, and that's what I saw Coach Dunn as at school, was like my father. He was like a father figure to me at school. So let's talk about a Bible verse that relates to his anger, but it relates to Coach Dunn's mentality over everything. So James 1:19-20 says, "Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God." He was swift to hear them lunch ladies. He was slow to speak. Let me tell you, he was slow to speak whenever he told us, or whenever he came over there and told me, let's go to the principal's office now. He did not holler at me. He did not scream at me. He just stone face said, let's go to the principal's office now. And he was slow to wrath. But whenever it came to it, he knew what he had to do. He had to set an example. And he paddled me. And then the principal stepped in and was like, okay, now it's my turn to punish him. And I was thinking, man, I done got 3 licks. Now I'm about to get 3 more licks. I had to clean the lunchroom for a week. After everybody left the lunchroom, I had to stay back and had to mop the lunchroom. So I did learn my lesson. And then Coach Dunn was an outdoorsman. So these 2 stories is going to talk about, excuse me, about Coach Dunn and his love for the outdoors. He took time off of work during school one time, during basketball season. It was like he took a week of vacation or something like that. Well, he lived, I want to say, in like towards Muscle Shoals, and he taught at Waterloo, but he hunted in Waterloo. So me and my buddy sitting in class, and we get called to the principal's office, which is never a good thing whenever me and him both gets called to the principal's office. It pretty much was like we knew that we have done screwed up royally and like we're getting in trouble. Well, we get up there and Coach Dunn is decked out in camouflage. He's like, boys, come out here and look what I killed. So we stepped out there and he just done killed a double main beam. I want to say it was a 10, if my memory serves me well. It might have been a double main beam 8, but the main beam on this thing was probably a 9-inch spot that, I mean, it like hugged the other beam almost perfectly. Like, I guarantee you could only fit like maybe 2 inches in between these 2 beams. And we sat out there for like 30, 40 minutes talking about this deer and talking about his hunt. He's like, yeah, he was chasing a doe and he come down the ridge top. And I mean, it was like a hunting camp at school, and he was just sitting there talking to us about it, not caring about school. Which I guess he didn't care about school that week because he was on vacation. But me and this boy was supposed to be in class, and he didn't care. Like, he was sitting there talking to us about it, and it was just fun. I remember that. Like, I remember the smile on his face, and Coach Dunn had one of the most infectious smile you would ever see in your life. If he was smiling, you can pretty much guarantee everybody around him was smiling also. Like, just to tell y'all how much this man loved, like, me and this boy felt like we was part of his hunting crew. He would bring deer snack sticks and deer summer sausage and crackers and stuff and just give it to us during class. Like, me and this boy, he'd be like, y'all want some of this summer sausage? He would pull out a little, he had like a little knife that he kept in his drawer for summer sausage and stuff. He would cut us a piece, 3 or 4 pieces, put it on a paper plate with some crackers, and we're sitting there in class eating deer summer sausage, where he'd be like, y'all try these snack sticks I got made. Tell me what you think. We're sitting there eating them all the time. And we just felt, or I did, I don't know about that boy. And I will tell you a story about that boy and Coach Dunn also, about how, talking about love, how he loved people. But we just felt like we was part of his crew. Like, you know how you got that hunting crew or that outdoors crew? We just felt like that me and him was that with Coach Dunn. before I tell the other hunting story, I will tell you about that boy. I'm not going to mention his name, but Coach Dunn took him fishing one time. Coach Dunn loved fishing too, and they was fishing and they wasn't catching nothing, apparently, what my buddy was telling me. And Coach Dunn just looked at him and said, "What does it say in the Bible? Cast your nets to the other side." And he swung that chair around, he cast it to the other side and reeled in a bass. They ain't caught nothing all day long, and he says that and turns around and reels in a bass. So that just tells you a little bit more about Coach Dunn's faith. Well, the last hunting story, and I'll go into the Bible first about love. Me, I've always had a pretty short fuse, especially when it comes to public land hunting. Well, y'all know all about Steve-O. Me and Steve-O was hunting in Waterloo, and you can't miss Steve-O's truck. Steve-O has a big white Dodge, and we pulled up to this spot, and we get there, way too early. So me and him sitting in there on our phones, and all of a sudden this truck pulls up behind us and cuts their lights off, and we see them get out of the vehicle, and we're like, this is not going to happen. I've done gotten mad, jumped out of the vehicle ready to fight. Well, our other coach that coached with Coach Dunn, his name is Coach Cooper, he hollered, he said, he don't call him Steve-O, he's like, "Steven, is that you?" Well, we knew it was Coach Cooper then, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm still going to figure out what they think they're going to be doing. Like, are we all hunting together? Are they going to the other side of the road? Like, what's going on? Well, next thing I know, I see them white pearly teeth whenever I shined that light over, and it was Coach Dunn. He had his stand already on his back, and he said, "Boys, we are going to kill something today." He said, "We got 4 people. We all going to get in this little spot back here. We are going to kill something today." Needless to say, none of us killed anything that day. We all saw deer that day, but none of us killed anything that day. But at that early in the morning, he was already smiling. And when we come out, he's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of glad that we came over here because we was going to go in the other side." And he said, "I put my truck in this mud hole," and he said, "I about not got out of that thing." He said, "That's what made us come over here." And he said, "I'm glad we did because we would have walked right into y'all because we figured out where everybody was going once we all talked." But he just loved hunting. He loved the outdoors. He loved fishing. He loved coaching. He loved coaching. He loved taking young men and coaching them to be, or young boys and coaching them to be young men. So this describes him to a T about love. 1 Corinthians 16:14 says, "Let all that you do be done with love." If it was the outdoors, if it was coaching, if it was, I know he loved his wife and I know he loved his kids. He did everything with love. And then one of the things that, this will be my last story about Coach Dunn, and I got a verse that sums up Coach Dunn, like his whole mentality or his whole everything is, I want to say it was my 9th or 10th grade year of football. I can't remember exactly where we was playing, but I got out there and I got cheap shotted. And like they thought I got seriously injured. And Coach Dunn, I'll never forget this. I've seen him angry, but I've never seen him like want to fight angry, if that makes sense. I got cheap shotted and the ref didn't throw the flag. And Coach Dunn threw, I want to say it was a towel that he had on him or something, at the ref. Then the flag flew. So we was thinking, okay, maybe the head ref was like, "Hey, I should have threw the flag," like a delayed flag type deal. No, they threw it at Coach Dunn for unsportsmanlike conduct. And I remember him saying, it's kind of like, off the blind side. He said, "That's my boy right there." Whenever Michael Orr's getting treated wrong because he's black, and he's like, "That's my boy, and I'll defend him with all I have," I think is what the quote is. Coach Dunn pretty much said that. He said, "That's one of my players right there, and you're not going to let somebody cheap shot them and not do anything about it." So he always had you back. But the verse that sums up Coach Dunn and everything he stood for It's Colossians 3:12 through 14. Therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, but above all these things, put on love, which is the bond of perfection. Was Coach Dunn perfect? No, because Romans 3:23 tells us that none of us are perfect. Did Coach Dunn embody a very Christian lifestyle? Yes, I can truly say he did. I wish that I could have spoke to him here recently and just hug him one more time and tell him, thank you. Thank you, Coach Dunn, for believing in me when nobody else believed in me. Thank you, Coach Dunn, for giving me the opportunities that you gave me in my sports, because I wasn't very good at sports. I was decent at, like I've told you, I was decent at baseball. I was all right at football. But he believed in me, and he gave me the opportunities to get better. But more than anything, thank you, Coach Dunn, for instilling a Christ, like planting the seed of Christ in me at a young age, at a very young age. I truly believe that if I wouldn't have had him as a coach, that I probably would have been far, far from where I am now, because it was something about, I always kept some of the things he said to me in the back of my mind. And when times would get hard, I would think about him telling me about Christ. But I know now that you have peace. I'm pretty sure you might have had trials and tribulations on this world. I don't know. I ain't talked to you since that time we was hunting. But I know that your peace has come now. And Coach Dunn, I wish I could have hugged your neck one last time and saw that infectious smile just one last time. But I know that someday I'll get to see that infectious smile again. And who knows, when we get up there, we might be able to swap some deer hunting stories, because I know that passion never left you. But thank you for everything you ever did for me. And I want to just pray for, I've been praying for your wife and your kids to find peace and comfort during this. And all the people that you have touched throughout your coaching career. I pray peace and comfort over them also. So, Coach Dunn, you will be very, very missed. From everybody in the class of 2012, we're all going to miss you. We've all got awesome stories to tell about you. We all got awesome memories about you. But thank y'all for listening. This, like I said, this is a shorter podcast than I normally do, I believe. But this podcast is in memory of Coach Toby Dunn and all that he's ever did for Waterloo School, and all that he continues to do, or continued to do whenever he went to Loretta. I pray for the students at Loretta and all of his co-workers at Loretta. But thank y'all. Y'all have a blessed day.